Good evening. You're very welcome on here. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes for a few people to come on. I'm going to be coming on here tonight to talk everything about CBD oil. This is something I could talk about for hours on end. I'm going to keep it as concise and short so I don't bore you to death. I will tell you basically what CBD oil is, how we use it, how it's helped our family, how it has helped all my kids who all have special needs, how I would not live without it for a day, how to take it, dosages, how to disguise the taste of it, everything you need to know about CBD oil. I consider myself quite an expert at this stage. We are taking it nearly 4 or 5 years now. I just see that you got your oil yesterday. You're very welcome, Karina. I'm delighted you got it. Okay, so let me go back to the very, very beginning. So before I even heard about CBD oil, all I thought about when I heard CBD oil was cannabis, was the type of Amsterdam smoking cannabis. CBD oil must be hallucinogenic, it must be addictive, all that kind of stuff. And I never really heard of CBD oil as in taking it for anything else. I just presumed cannabis, that was it. It was just that was it. So what were we, 7 years ago, we had our first son, Joshua. So Joshua was 18 months. He was a very happy little boy. He was chatting, saying a few words. His speech was a little bit slow, but he was saying a few words. He was very interactive. He was very fun, bubbly, lots of eye contact, everything. And then literally at 18 to 19 months, he completely regressed. He went to, over about the space of 2 months, went basically to absolutely no speech, no interaction. His eye contact was gone. Yep, I'll be on to Dosage now in a short while. His eye contact went, his play went, like imaginary play went completely. He started doing really weird things. He was flapping his hands. He was running around in circles all the time, running on his tippy toes. I'd never really seen anything like it. We were more concerned about the speech, but at the same time, I was probably 8 or 9 months pregnant with Molly. So we kind of put it down to, I was in and out of hospital a lot with Molly because Molly got diagnosed very early with a heart condition. So I was very carefully monitored throughout the pregnancy. We nearly lost her during the pregnancy. We had a very tough pregnancy with her. So I was in and out of hospital a lot. So we kind of put it down to he was missing me. I wasn't as attentive to him because I wasn't well, and there was a lot going on. New baby coming, trying to explain that to him, etc. But quite rapidly he got worse and worse and worse. And I say worse as in he just got more enclosed in his own little world, and we were kind of losing him. Like he wasn't able to connect with us at all. He screamed a lot. He shouted a lot. He got very agitated because he couldn't use his speech to communicate. His sensory levels went through the roof. You couldn't bring him to a shopping centre. Birthday parties were a no-no. Social life was a no-no completely. He loved going to creche. There was one thing that he did like. It was routine. It was the same thing every day. And that kind of kept my sanity somewhat, and gave us time to deal with Molly and her heart condition. So anyway, we started getting him into, it was around the age of 2. Because my eldest son Jamie has Asperger's, and I went through the system with him. He didn't get diagnosed till he was 7 with Asperger's, but I knew from an early age that there was something different about him, that he was thinking differently. He had totally different symptoms though to Joshua. But I was actually watching a lovely young guy, Riley, on here, Nicole Duggan's his mum, and I was watching we were friends on here. I was blogging on Molly's page. I had a page for Molly, and I was blogging about having a child with Down syndrome. And I was watching Riley, and I was kind of going, oh my God, he's doing a lot of the things that Joshua did. And I just didn't associate it with autism at all, because Jamie's autism, which was known as Asperger's back then, was completely different. He didn't regress. He just had a lot of social difficulties, whereas Joshua was quite social. Jamie never flapped. He didn't do a lot of the stuff that Joshua was doing. So I didn't recognize it as autism, but I recognized it when I looked at Riley and went, oh my God, he's doing the exact same thing. But yeah, he was quite a happy little child, and I just didn't know really. So I actually contacted Nicole and said, can I send you some videos? I started documenting Joshua a lot, videoing him a lot, just to see what other people thought and to see what it was, and was it just me seeing it or whatever. And she said, look, if I were you, I'd go get him assessed. So in my heart and soul, I knew, yep, that's time for a diagnosis. And then I said to my family, I think I'm going to get Joshua assessed for autism. And everybody went, yeah, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And I was going, okay, everybody thinks he's all got autism. And I'm the only one sitting here going, oh, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So we got him assessed. We went privately because the waiting lists were like 2 years long. And I know from Jamie, like I want to get him to the services ASAP because the earlier you get the intervention, the better. So we got him diagnosed privately, and he said yes, he has autism. So we got him straight into service. So very quickly, actually, we were here in Carlow. Back then, the services were quite good. So we got him into speech therapy, occupational therapy, physiotherapy. I think that was all. So which he didn't like at all. It was they set out like 6 months plan, going like we'll try and get him to interact with games. Like he wouldn't take turns. Even in the creche, he just played on his own. If kids came over, he would be very kind of throwing stuff away from them, and just like to play on his own. Just did his own thing kind of during the day. So we set out a 6 month plan of, where we could go with it, trying to get him to start. He bounced 24 hours a day, literally nonstop on his knees in a trampoline, in his bed, in his cot, on the chair, bouncing. This is all stimulus. Sensory needs is how they regulate themselves and kind of calm themselves down by. So that's why you see kids with autism doing a lot of stimming or flapping or moving around. So very long story short, I'll try and not go too much into the autism end of things, but Molly, as I said, had a heart condition, so we had nurses coming all the time to check her over and to assess her, and she had 2 open heart surgeries. So in the middle of all this, so one of the days a nurse was here and Joshua was having a complete meltdown, and I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. If you just tend to Molly, I'll go in and deal with him." And she was like, "It's okay. My nephew has autism and I'm well used to it." So that's great. Okay, and it's really nice for especially as parents when somebody understands your child. So she said, "Have you ever tried CBD oil?" And I was like, "Cannabis? Like, why would I give my child cannabis?" And she was like, "No, CBD oil is actually from the hemp plant." And she started explaining it to me. So she said, "Go do your research," because we've used it on my nephew and it's had amazing results. So, okay, so of course, straight onto Google, straight onto YouTube, found a load of videos of these miracle children going before and after, and how different they were and how interactive they were. And when you're an autism mum, most of us will try anything, to get that interaction, to get speech for your child. And it's not because there's anything wrong with them, it's just to get them, I suppose, our expectations rather than their expectations. And I've learned an awful lot about that through the years with my 2 kids, Jamie and him, having autism. And I fully accept them for who they are, 100%, but it's more to make them fit into the world, unfortunately, because the world is not made to work for them. It's becoming a lot more open now, but it has taken a long time. And going back 5 years, it wasn't as accepting. So so I Googled and everything I found was positive, found very little negative. So I said, you know what, let's try it. So I ordered the bottle that night, and it arrived like 2 days later. At the time, it was a different oil that we used back then, that we started on, and it was very, very expensive. It came from America, but we had a supplier in Ireland at the time. This is a long story with the supplies and everything. I'll go through all that later on. So basically, the oil arrived. I didn't tell anybody. Obviously, my ex knew that we were doing it, and we decided to tell nobody. And just let's see if it works. Let's see if it doesn't. We did a video of him the day before we started the oil. We brought him to Woody's, and he had a complete meltdown the whole way around. And I put up a video there on the grid today, and on the page, just showing the before and after. See the video before in Woody's. And so we started the oil anyway, and it says, say nothing to the creche. Gave to him that morning, sent him into creche. And also the other thing was he wouldn't eat anything. He literally would eat nothing, only yellow food, which is very common with kids with autism. So like chicken nuggets, waffles, chips, digestive biscuits, anything yellowy. Nothing else. No fruit, no vegetables, no not even chocolate, sweets, nothing. It was just literally all yellow, kind of dry food. No sauces. You couldn't put sauce near him. No gravy, no nothing. So really, really boring, kind of plain food. And that's, as I say, a very common trait with kids with autism. So anyway, he sent him in. So I was going to collect him that day, and I'm going, oh God, let's see if anything happens. So anyway, Brenda, who was the manager there, opened the door, and I was like, how did you get on today? And she said, oh, he had a really good day, actually. You're not going to believe this. He ate some potato today. So I'm going, oh God, this has to be coincidence. There's no way. Anyway, came home and I said, you're not going to believe this. He actually ate some potato today. The next day, collected him, and she said, yeah, another great day. And he had spaghetti bolognese today. I'm like, no bloody way. Absolutely no way. The next day was chili con carne. The next day was something else. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Within a week, he was a lot more relaxed over the next couple of weeks, and I've documented all this on a video. Say the videos are all there on the grid there. As the weeks went on, like after a couple of weeks, his eye contact came back. I have a video of him running towards me. I was bawling, crying, watching him because it was the first time he actually looked at me. Sounds started coming. They took a lot longer. The voice came last. But he stopped stimming. He slowed down the stimming. Then it eventually stopped. He had a lot more concentration. Then when Molly was born, he didn't even acknowledge she existed. He literally would have walked over, and then suddenly he started like touching her, and then he started kissing her, and then he started reading stories to her, and slowly, surely his love grew for her, and now they're the closest two kids on earth. And it just went like that. It went on and on. And if you've been watching my videos on here, or you can look back through my stories here, Joshua is as typical as all the boys on the road now. And I'm not saying that the CBD oil is a miracle cure, but what I reckon it does for kids with autism or ADHD is when they have a lot of sensory stuff going on, they have a lot of stuff in their head, they have different sounds are constantly distracting them. It just kind of calms it all down and lets them concentrate on something. That's the only way I can describe how I see how it affected Joshua. It's like everything calmed. All the stimming, he didn't need to stim because his body was relaxed, and therefore he was able to just do other things that he could get his focus back. And eventually the speech came, and eventually I heard the amazing words, "I love you, mommy," or just mommy alone I cried for days after that. He started sleeping better. He stopped all the stimming, stopped all the jumping, stopped running around circles. All the symptoms of autism literally went over the last few years. So he's on it since he was about 2.5, and he's now he is 7. So whatever, what's that, 4.5 years now he's been on it. And I've never taken him off it in those 4.5 years. He gets it every day. If he doesn't get it, yes, if it's been a day or two where we ran out, or we're just busy, or I was away and maybe his dad didn't give it to him or something like that, you would see a difference in him. You would definitely see where his anxiety was higher, and you would definitely see he was a bit more agitated. So that was Joshua. So I decided to put Jamie on. So Jamie was suffering with huge anxiety. Jamie would be he was quite a more the loner type. He wasn't as sociable. He would have crossed road when he saw anybody coming towards him. He was very quiet, didn't engage much in conversation. His conversation was quite short and stopped, like he wouldn't have a conversation. And he would have got very nervous going to a shopping centre just in case he saw somebody who knew him, and he'd have to talk to them and all that sort of stuff. So Jamie's was a leader in the Scouts. He's been working for the last 2.5 years in Super Value on the tills, and is highly regarded by the managers there. Hello from Colombia. Thank you for joining me. He has been to China. He's been to Canada. He's currently in Greece on a lad's holiday. He has nearly got a girlfriend, hopefully soon. And he is starting college in September. And did his evening cert. He has had no ASD help over the last few years. He is doing absolutely amazing. He is so sociable now. Like, my family still can't even get over how much he has come out of a shell and how interactive he is. We have a great relationship. We sit and chat all the time. He tells me everything. He still has Asperger's. Joshua still has autism. It's not that and thank you very much. And he's driving a car now. He's just waiting on his driving test. And he's the best brother to his little brother and sister. An amazing son. He's just the best son anyone could ever dream of. He's a dream son. So that's Jamie. And then we have Miss Molly. So Miss Molly is my 6-year-old going on 16. She's nearly 6. Molly she has Down syndrome and a heart condition, as I said. She was a terrible sleeper for the first few years. Awful sleeper. She would wake about 100 times a night. They're in bed now since 7:30. She'll sleep till about 7:30 in the morning. She never wakes during the night unless she was sick. One of the major things I found with CBD oil they're all on it. One of the major things I found with CBD oil is they very rarely get sick anymore. They were constantly. Joshua had chronic asthma. Joshua was hospitalized at least once a month before we started CBD oil. Since we started CBD oil, he's never, touched wood, never been in hospital since, never been sick since. He said an odd little cold, but nothing major, no major respiratory problems. And I mean in hospital every month on, like, we have nebulizers here, we have steroids here on standby for them because he was sick so often. He's never really been sick since. Neither of them caught COVID either. Could be totally unrelated, just throwing it in there as well. And we've had COVID 3 times in the house. So their immune system is definitely strengthened by it. They both sleep like a log. They go to bed at 7:30. They wake up around 7:30. Joshua a little bit earlier. And they never really wake during the night, which is a major, major plus for anybody with kids with special needs, because your sleep is everything. They are way more settled. Molly, again, I took her off her for about a week there not so long ago, and the crash rang me to say that she was quite agitated and this is not withdrawal symptoms. You don't get withdrawals, and I can vouch for this because I take it myself. It's not withdrawal symptoms. Literally, you go back to your anxiety and stress comes back again. So it's like an antibiotic. If you don't take it, it doesn't work. It's like vitamins. You don't take them, you don't get the benefit of it. So, that is kind of the most important thing. But I hear so many people going, oh, I tried CBD oil, it didn't really work for me. And I'm like, when did you take it? Did you? And they're like, oh, I took it one day and then took another. And like, no, it's like an antibiotic. You need to take it. While on CBD oil, can you still meet ASD criteria? Yes, absolutely. But if you were going, while you're on CBD oil, he would still meet ASD criteria. Yes, so basically, if you are waiting on an assessment for autism, I would wait. I wouldn't start the child on it just now. I'd get your assessment done. And the reason is, unfortunately, especially in Ireland, the services are so shite at the moment that you need your child, unfortunately, as needy as possible in order to get the services. Once you have got on the list of waiting for services, then yes, I would go ahead with the CBD oil. And you have to fight tooth and nail. And trust me, having 3 kids on with special needs, I have been through the system so many times. I was in Dublin with Jamie, and that was it. I don't think I paid for all private with him anyway. I don't think we got any services with him. When we moved to Carlow and I had Molly and Joshua, the services here were really good. And then what happened was lockdown kicked in and they decided to stop all services for all children with special needs. So I had to become psychologist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, and whatever the other one is. I've lost track at this stage, for 2 kids. And Molly and Joshua are completely opposite. So whereas Molly uses sign language, Joshua uses PECS, which was using pictures to learn words. So I had to do 2 different types. It was absolutely ridiculous. And they redesigned the whole system of services, and nobody's got any services since. So we have not had any services for either 2 kids in the last 3 years. It's absolutely ridiculous. Molly wears special shoes because she has weak low muscle tone, and she only got her shoes for the first pair of shoes in 2 years there the other day. And she's meant to be in them like for the last 2 years, and that I fought tooth and nail to get them, and we got them there recently. So we started CBD oil 12 months ago. It changed our lives. Our son was assessed in February and still met the ASD criteria. Yeah, it doesn't get rid of autism. I wouldn't like it to. Like, it's one thing I hear a lot. People say, "Oh my God, you have 3 kids with special needs," and "Oh my God, poor you." And I'm like, no, they're just my kids. Like, I don't know any different. I don't know what it's like to have 3 normal kids. I know lots of people who have normal or typical kids, as we would call them. I wouldn't change my kids for the world for them. My kids are so easy. They're so great. They're very high functioning, thank God. And but they're just my kids, and I just see their needs as just no more than, people who have typical children who might have problem with bullying and more different things. So we all have our crosses to bear. And just because they've disabilities. So my major thing here is I always focus on their abilities, not disabilities. So I focus on what they can do and not on what they can't do. And I never limit. This is one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life. So if you even know somebody, and everybody knows somebody with autism at this stage in life, is never limit them. Never think that they can never do whatever they want to do. I would never in a million years, when Jamie was age 7, thought he would be going on a lad's holiday to Greece, and driving a car around with a girlfriend in tow. Not a hope in hell. I would have said no. And I learned as time went on, there's nothing, they can do whatever they want to do once they're determined to do it, and they'll do it in their own time, in their own pace, in their own way. and just don't stop them doing whatever they want to do. Did Josh have sensory issues with clothes and shoes? If so, did that change after CBD? He didn't have the clothes thing as such. He had sensory issues with food, and yes, that changed. He still would prefer plain food. He still doesn't eat tomato sauce, but he will eat potatoes and vegetables and fruit. And so yeah, he still so he didn't have really sensory with clothes, but yes, the sensory as in noise levels, going out and about, going into shopping centres, that used to drive him insane. He would go berserk. Going to even my family's house, it would take him about half an hour to settle in before he'd really cope. Then he'd be quite friendly and stuff like that. But the first half an hour wasn't like, I was like, don't talk to him, don't go near him. Now he runs in and he's hugging and kissing and he's the star of the show. Do you think he would still meet the criteria now? It's really hard to tell. Again, every case, if you want to PM me later on, I can have a chat with you about that. About regarding the assessment. Meeting the criteria and stuff. I'll go through that with you differently. So dosage wise, so Molly still takes it. She sleeps all night now. So at the beginning, when I had Josh on about 2 weeks and we were starting to see changes already, so I was like, I don't suffer with anxiety. I've never had depression, thank God. I never thought I was really stressed. I'm a Reiki practitioner, so I do Reiki a lot. I meditate every day. I do a lot of, I go to a counsellor once a month minimum. And that's for my own mental health. I cannot recommend counselling, and I mean with a psychologist, not a counsellor. I've gone to counsellors for years, and this is no disrespect to counsellors, but I just find they're just good ears to listen to. I have friends who can do that. I went to a psychologist and I found this absolutely amazing one in Carlo. If anyone wants her number, I'm very happy to share it. I'm not on commission, or it's not a collab or anything like that. I've sent so many people to her. She's just incredible. And I did go for a year over the last year with my weight loss journey to figure out, and deal with all the issues. I don't think I've ever really dealt with, not that actually, never actually came up in my stuff, but having 3 kids with disability, yeah, there is a bit of a why me and being so, but I'm not a negative person. I'm probably the most positive person you've ever come across in your life, but there was things that were getting me down. Anyway, I still go once a month and to keep on top of my mental health, and I've no problem sharing that. I've no problems talking about it. I was only there last week, and it's amazing, and that's how I can be so positive and so enjoy my life with my kids and everything. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. There's a lot of work goes into it. You have a lot of appointments, you have a lot of everything. So, but I never found I was a stressed person. So I went on the CBD. I wanted to feel what is my children feeling like? What do they feel? Whooshy? Does it feel do you feel like hallucinogenic or whatever it is? So I went on the oil for a week. I have to say it does taste absolutely vile. There's nothing nice about it. And I will go through tips later on of how to get it into the kids, without doing it. So I went on it for a week, and I felt no real different. I was kind of going, grand, sure, I'm grand, I'm so calm, whatever. And so I did a week, and then I came off it. And it was funny, in that week, it was more, other people said to me, God, you seem very relaxed. And I was like, oh, really am I? I didn't feel any different. I didn't really feel like it was doing anything for me. So I was like, oh, maybe because I'm so chilled. Oh my God, when I came off it, about a few days later, I was like, oh my God, I realised how much I'd been sleeping better, how much I had been more tolerant. And that's probably the biggest word I could use, the tolerance levels. So if you imagine a room with 3 screaming kids, or, a load of kids in playing, and it's all mayhem and mental, like the creche when I go to collect. I don't know how the poor girls work in those creches. And all the kids are, woo! And what I found was when I was off the oil, my reaction was stop, and getting angry and getting agitated really quickly. My tolerance levels was really low. But what I found was when I was on CBD oil was I was able to go, okay, a bit of a mayhem here. Okay, that child needs food. That child needs a nappy changed. And that child needs just to have the other 2 children not screaming. And I was able to assess it. I was like, I could stand back from everything and go, okay, what do I need to do here? And put a plan in action and go and do it. And then all the situation was calmed. And trust me, as a parent, and this is not only for special needs parents, for any parent, if you have children, it's stressful, and your stress goes onto your child 100%, no more than their stress goes onto you. So if both of you are stressing at the same time, one of you needs to take charge, and not normally it's the child is led by you. So if you find you're not tolerating, or you're agitated, and the kids are, especially, I mean, lockdown was the biggest challenge, I think, for all of us. I am quite happy to say I am not a stay-at-home mum. I am not a creche worker. I am not a therapist. I don't know how people do it. And here are my children every day. And thank you so much for reminding them every day, because I'm just like, it's not for me. I love working. I love going to work. So lockdown for me was a complete nightmare. But that's when I upped the oil ante, and it got us through it absolutely fine. But yeah, I found I was sleeping better. And what was happening to me without CBD oil was, I was going to bed and I had 100 million things going through my head. I have to do this, I have to do this, I've got this appointment, blah, blah, blah. And I was waking up in the morning. I have a sheet of paper beside the bed, and I was writing down all my little notes, going, okay, write that down. And then I'd be able to sleep, and then I'd lie back down. Then I think of 110 more things, and it'd be going round, 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 round. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that as I'm talking about it, because I meet so many people who go, oh my God, my head never stops. I see a lot of messages coming here about where to get it. I'll go through all of that in a few minutes. So I found when I was on the oil, I was getting up in the morning going, okay, I have 100 things to do. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. And I started ticking everything I had to do and getting things done, rather than the anxiety of, and that's where my anxiety obviously was I couldn't get these things done because I was so busy thinking about all the things I had to do and all the appointments. I was just trying to stay out that. Now I was actually getting things done. Now I was actually ticking the boxes. Now I was actually going, and when I was going to bed, I was like, everything's done. Tomorrow I'm going to do this, this, and this. And it's like an organization in my head. Everything calmed so I could actually do the stuff. And that's where I think that's where it comes in with autism. And even with Molly with Down syndrome, it kind of calms everything down so you can actually focus and get stuff done, rather than thinking about all the things you can do. I hope that makes sense. That for me is the number one thing. And I am super organized. And as I have a lot of appointments, I'm a celebrant, I'm a makeup artist, and I have my own brand, and I have 3 kids with special needs, and I'm a single parent. So trust me, I have a lot going on, and I get up in the morning and I do my bits. Don't get me wrong, I have bad days, and but I do meditate not every day, most days. I take time out for myself. I take time away from the kids. And again, another thing, as a parent, I highly recommend, if it's possible, is, whether you're a special needs parent or not, is every 6 to 8 weeks, organize whether it's an hour or 2 or a night away or something, and get away from the kids. And honestly, God, it's like a refresh button, and it gets gives them a break from you as well, because you could be stressing them out more than they're stressing you out. But it also gives you time to go and have some me time, or have some couple time, or have some fun, away from kids. Because when you become a parent, you forget what it is to have a life and your life becomes totally taken over by kids. So it is really important to make yourself have your own you time. And you'll see by my stories here, I do get away a lot. And I need it. And I honestly, I'm not ashamed to say I need it. And that was what counselling did for me. It learned it's okay to be selfish, and you're being selfish for a good reason. And like, if you think about when you go on the airplane, the first thing they say to you is, when the plane's going down, if the plane's going down, put on your own parachute and your own mask first. And I used to sit there going, oh my God, that's horrendous. Imagine doing that. Oh my God, you'd be shot for, not looking after kids. But you're absolutely no use to your kids if you're stressed out or you're not alive. So basically, it's looking after yourself to some degree. Be a little bit selfish, and that's okay to do it, because what you're actually doing is benefiting. You're teaching your children it's okay to look after yourself and take care of yourself, because you're going to show them by example. And that's what I started doing. And so basically, I started sleeping better. I started focusing more, getting stuff done. I'm very organised, and I haven't been really sick, touch wood, much in the last few years either. So, okay, dosage-wise, I know so many people are asking about dosage. So every CBD oil is different. Okay, so the CBD oil we were on, and I highly, highly recommend, is the Green Heart CBD. This is just the end of a bottle. So Green Heart CBD are in the moment transferring over to America, but they will be supplying, especially any followers of mine. I will have a discount code back again, free from America. So that's all coming. They're going to be back up in September. They have had a bit of delay getting everything moved over, so hence they are not stocking at the moment. So Green Heart CBD is the CBD we've been on. This is the CBD I'll be staying on. But in the meantime, so they have farms all over Ireland and in America now as well, where they farm all the hemp. So this is the same hemp is being used. So they've put me on contact with another CBD company who use the same hemp from their farm to create their own oil. So this is it here, and it's certified organic. And I've been on this for the last week, and I don't feel any difference in the oil. again, CBD oil works differently for everybody. We all have CBD receptors in our body. So, one oil doesn't suit everybody. It's not about, and it's not even about how strong an oil is or how weak an oil is. It's whether this oil works for you or not. Unfortunately, it's a bit of trial and error to find it. But I found, and any of my followers on here, because there's loads of people here who use the oil. I've been sending out oil to people all week, who have used it and had the most amazing results. And there's been a smaller percentage of people who have tried it with their kids and it didn't work. And they just have to go and try a different oil, unfortunately. And that's just the way it is. But this oil has certainly been the highest ratio of working for people that I've come across. Everyone I know is on it. So basically the dosage is 0.7 mils, which is about, so when you take it out, you basically squeeze the little squeezer, and there's markings on it. So you work to about 0.7. I'll have to get my glasses on, but that's about 0.7 of a mil. So that in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then about 2 hours before bedtime. So I haven't taken mine tonight, so I'm going to take it now just to show you. They do recommend taking it under the tongue. For kids with autism or kids with special needs, or even for kids in general, just get it into the gob. Don't worry about under the tongue, just get it down. I say it doesn't taste very nice. I don't even really bother putting it under the tongue, but squeeze it in. Make sure it's all gone. And that's it. And just follow it. So what I tend to do is have a little drink ready. I don't need it now, but my coffee is going cold. So that's basically it. And so one of those 0.7 mils morning and evening. And now what I will say to you is, so CBD oil works differently. So if you imagine what I would do a day, like for example, where I'm going to pack the 3 kids into the car and I'm going to go to Dublin for the day, and we're going out, or we're going out to a shopping centre, or we're going to somewhere where it's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of sensory stuff going on, I give them a little bit more oil that morning, about before we go, and myself to take the edge off. And it just, because their anxieties are going to be a little bit heightened because they're going into somewhere new or they're going into something different, and it preempts that edge, if that makes sense. It just takes that in. Definitely for me. So if I'm going into a big meeting, or I'm doing something, or giving a course where I'm a little bit more worked up, I take a little bit more oil. Days, that's burping after now. Days where I'm just sitting around the house and everything's calm and I've had extra time to do my meditation, I might take a little bit less, but I definitely take a portion every day. So some days I take a little bit less, some days I take a little bit more. Again, with the kids, the same. If they're very calm, relaxed, and I give them a little bit less, and days where it's a little bit hectic or I can see they have more anxiety, I give them a little bit more. So, but the basics is 0.7 mils morning and night. Now, different oils are different strengths. So this is Green Heart or this new one. They're both around the same. And again, you play that to your needs. Some children, like some people prefer to give it a full dosage in the morning. I think it's better to give it morning and night, because I found over time that that helps them sleep at night. Having it 2 hours before bed, it totally relaxes you. You cannot, and I see Karina, you just said there as well, you cannot overdose on CBD oil. This is the great thing. You cannot give too much. If you give too much, all it's going to do is make you a bit sleepy or a bit lethargic. And I've done that several times as well, where I gave oil and he had already given oil or something like that. And the child would just be more relaxed on the couch. Not unconscious asleep or anything like that, but just very relaxed. So the name of the second one. So the second one is from the Hemp Farm. I'm going to talk about that now in a second, because I'm after been in touch with them and I have a deal, a special offer on it. So you can't give too much, okay? If you give too little, though, however, you can get, they can be a little more agitated, especially with autism. It can nearly agitate them a little bit more. So if you're giving, some people come back to you and go, I was giving them oil and they're actually more hyper or they're more agitated. You're not giving enough oil. So you have to just figure it out, basically, per child or per adult, what the best dosage is and work them around it. So you play a little bit with it, a little bit more, a little bit less, and then work out what their best system is. But most people, 0.7 mil morning and night works perfectly on it. You can travel with CBD oil, no problem. Again, wouldn't shove it in their faces, because a lot of them it is completely legal, first of all, in Ireland and England. I'm nearly 100% sure. There is some places where it's not, and they're more kind of, I think, Indonesia and a few different places where it's not. America, unfortunately, is really hard to send CBD oil to at the moment, because it's they've stopped accepting liquids by post or by courier, and the So, but as I say, they will be set up in America shortly, so that will be not a problem in a little while. But what was I going with that now? Yeah, so travel with it is no problem. And it's no problem with it turning. So basically, okay, let me just explain this a little bit better. CBD oil comes from the hemp plant. It doesn't come from the cannabis plant. So the cannabis that you get in Amsterdam, that kind of smoking weed, all that sort of stuff, and the medical cannabis is from the um cannabis plant. Okay, so CBD oil is from the hemp plant. So they're actually two different types of plants. Um, so that's why the CBD oil is legal. It's not actually classed as a drug or anything like that. It's classed as a food supplement. It has numerous benefits for the body apart from all of what I've just talked about in health wise and everything like that. It can also help with pain. It can also help with muscle joints. It can help with so many different things. Just general health all over. And sorry, I'm getting all confused myself. So the cannabis plant, that is where you get THC. So that is the medical cannabis. That's the one that is banned in Ireland, that is illegal because it is addictive and it is hallucinogenic. It is like taking kind of drugs as such, but it has massive, massive benefits for people who have Parkinson's or shakes or kind of more shaking kind of. I can't even think of the words now at the moment. Like all those sort of like who have oh my god, my brain. This is menopause brain. I just see somebody ask about menopause there as well. But yeah, basically anyone kind of what's the word, like epileptic fits, all that kind of thing as well. That is the one that people are trying to fight for, to get it legalized so they can take it, and it does help so much with that. But because it is addictive and hallucinogenic, they will not, unfortunately, legalise it at the moment. But there is a big battle on for that, and I'd be fully 100% behind it. But this hemp oil is not. It's completely different. It's a food supplement, neurological. Thank you so much. Trying to think of the words. Will it help menopause? I'm coming into menopause, as you see, with my foggy brain at the moment. I would say, I don't know is the honest answer to that, but what I would say is it would definitely help with anxiety, which I know comes with menopause. It would help with relaxing the body and for help MS as well. Yes, thank you so much. And epilepsy, thank you so much. So yeah, definitely I would say for reducing stress and anxiety that comes with menopause and all the as you can see, the foggy brain and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I would say definitely it's not going to change menopause in any way, but it would definitely help with anxiety and dealing with all that. So yes, I will be on it through menopause, so I will let you know as I go on for that. So the main thing is consistency, taking it every day, treating it like, so ways to get it in. So as I say, it doesn't taste very nice. So for kids with special needs, especially, and any kids, you will find there's gummies in the chemist. You will find there's different things that they can take. But be very careful which oil you're taking, because a lot of the oils, they don't have the content of CBD that you need for getting the real effects, this type of effects Joshua and my family have had. And again, it's down to the different types of oil, and this is the only oil I'm recommending at the moment. With this is from the Green Heart CBD range, and this new company, so they're not a new company, but this other oil that I found, which is from the Green Heart plant, so it's the same kind of oil. So yeah, it's consistency. It's about taking it daily. It's about giving it all the time. You can mix it in with, so oil and water don't mix. You can't, everyone always asks, can I put it into juice, whatever? You won't. It'll float to the top. It just floats, like, it looks horrible and it would taste horrible as well. But you can put it into yogurts. You can mix it with spread. So even like chocolate spread, you can mix it with what other things, like even with a hot chocolate, if you have the mousse of the, like the top of the hot chocolate, you make a foamy type thing, you can actually add it onto the foam. You will taste it a bit though. So unfortunately, it's just a matter of getting it. What I did with the kids was I didn't mix around with it. I treated it like Calpol. I just got it in and I literally made them take it every day. They got used to it. I called it Happy Oil. I called it Peppa Pig Oil. I called it Paw Patrol Oil. All the different names as it goes on. But the Happy Oil is the one that stuck because they know it makes them happy. And like even Joshua here, like he will argue most days, oh, Mummy, do I have to take the oil? I'm like, yes, you do. And it's just routinized. And he just does that. He took it for years without saying a word. But now that he kind of is a little bit older, he's kind of wanting to choose not to take it. And I'm like, and the days I have not given it to him, when he comes home and he's agitated or angry, I'm like, we'll take our oil now. And I said, look how happy it'll make you in a few minutes. And he's like, it won't make me happy. And 10 minutes later, he's sitting there laughing. I'm like, see? And he's like, I know. And it does make him happy. You can see an instant change. So we were on a different oil for 2 years. And then Greenheart CBD came along and we changed to Greenheart. And I took a break. That was the only time I took a break with the oil. For 3 days, we stopped the oil completely in between the last oil and Greenheart CBD. And those 3 days, he definitely regressed. He got very agitated. He came in one of the days and he had a complete and utter meltdown over a sausage being broken in half, like the sausage had split. And I mean, it was a 40-minute complete and utter meltdown. And people who say, oh, kids ought to have meltdowns, and would they not just put manners on them and all this sort of stuff? An autistic meltdown is not like Joshua has normal meltdowns, like 6-7-year-old meltdowns, but an autistic meltdown is complete. So there's no reasoning, there's no bribery, there's no nothing. Nothing is going to stop it, and it can be anytime and anywhere. Touch wood, again, he hasn't had an autistic meltdown since this time, but for years and years and years since he was been on the oil, he's very happy. Yeah, he has like 7-year-old meltdowns all the time, like, and he tries and plays me and all that sort of stuff, absolutely, but they're not autistic meltdowns anymore, and they're much more controlled and controllable. Was he more receptive to, oh, thank you so much for reminding me of that. Was he more receptive to OT after being on the oil? So OT is occupational therapy. Yes, 100%. So within a month of him starting on the CBD oil, he was still going to speech therapy and occupational therapy. The occupational therapist could not, we went in after a month from the first appointment to the next appointment, and they could not understand. I didn't tell them what we were on the oil because I was afraid at that stage, I was afraid, oh my God, they might think I'm a drug pushing mummy. They could not believe he actually reached the 6-month goals in about 6 weeks. They were like, oh my God, the stimming had stopped. And I was like, no, he's fine. And he's sharing and he's doing this. And they were like, oh my God. The creche called me aside after about 4 weeks and said, okay, what the hell have you done to Joshua? What is he on? And she said, is he on CBD oil? Because she'd actually seen another child with the same kind of change. And they had done CBD oil as well. And she's like, oh my God. And he's still in the same question. They still laugh, like to this day. We'd often kind of go, God, do you remember what he was like when he came in here first? Like, he was just a completely different child. Like, Joshua now will spend the afternoon out on the street with the lads, out in the green, playing with the lads. He would set up shop outside. He would sell his Pokemon cards, make a profit. He'd be laughing and joking. He comes in, he gets up in the morning, he makes his own breakfast. He's so astute. Now, he still has difficulties. He can't tie his laces. He can't dress himself very well. He does a lot of things backwards. He has problems in school. He's still going to have he's still in an ASD unit and will be for the foreseeable future, but more for intellectual problems other than social problems. So yes, in answer to that question, yes, 100% receptive. He hasn't been in OT since really probably 6 months after he started on oil, and doesn't need to go back at the moment. Do I think it was CBD oil that brought on Joshua's speech? 100% yes. And I don't want to give anybody false hope. Not every child is going to speak. But Molly even improved greatly with her speech after starting on the oil as well. Had a lot more sounds, a lot more words. Like, Joshua was completely non-verbal. Yeah, it took about a year after starting oil for the speech to come on. But again, with kids with such needs, like, they tend to, like, even Molly, she spent so long trying to walk. She didn't walk till she was 4.5, I think 4.5. Now she's working on her speech. They kind of focus on one thing at a time. Once she got walking, then you could hear her speech starting to come on. So give it time, be patient with that, but don't give up hope. And one thing I will tell you, regardless of whether you do CBD oil or not, for any child, autism or Down syndrome or anything like that, like I said before, don't give up hope on anything and do not stop dreaming. Because I'm huge into the law of attraction, and I was continuously saying, my child will go to school, he will be able to play with kids, he will be able to go to things, and I just had that vision in my head the whole time, and I just believed he would. And like, at the time, there was absolutely no hope. Like, he was, and you can see by the videos, I say, watch the video on my grid after this if you haven't watched it already, and you will see for yourself. And so many people, that video went viral on YouTube. There was actually over 1 million hits on it. And I now I get messages every single day without fail from people all over the world, and I send them on CBD oil. So that's another question that keeps coming up here as I'm talking. So as I say, Greenheart is not available at the moment. So I have this other oil. It's from the hemp farm. It's in Ireland. It's about half an hour from me here. So it's €65 on their website. I went and bought a load of bottles of it because I have so many people here who are on CBD oil, and I knew they were going to be doing it. And I've got it for €55 a bottle from them. So I have a stock of it here at the moment. I don't plan on stocking this for future. As soon as Green Heart comes in, it'll be going back to them, and they'll have a discount code that you can use, and they're actually cheaper as well. So this bottle is 30 mils, which lasts you about 3 to 4 weeks, and it is €55 plus postage. And I do with DPD because I found one on Puss, they were getting broken, and everything with DPD, they're well wrapped and protected. So, and it's overnight delivery in Ireland. So 3 days to England, and then after that, so it's €15 postage to England. And again, if it's abroad, once I can send it, I will send it, no problem. But Ireland's €8 overnight DPD, you'll have tomorrow. Well, the next day, 24 hours later. So it's certified organic. I'll send you all the details. If you want to inquire any more, if you have any questions whatsoever, please send me a DM. If you're interested in buying some of the oil, I have about 10 bottles in stock at the moment, but I can get more tomorrow. So if you want more, let me know. As I said, it's €55 for the 30 ml. I'm going to try and get them to get 100 ml bottles in stock, because most of us, once it works for you, you're not going to want to come off it. And then as soon as Green Heart comes back in, I'll put up a list here, a little box on my stories as well. If you want to be on the waiting list for Green Heart when it comes back available, just put your name in it, or just send me a DM, say put me on the list for it, so I can have a list ready, and I will email you the minute it comes out. But I'll do up a little form for it anyway. But in the meantime, that one is available. I cannot recommend it enough, and this is not for me making money from it. It's nothing to do with that. I've always blogged this journey, and I will continue to blog this because I am so grateful for what CBD has done for my life, and for my family's life, and for the kids, and for just in general. Like, I feel so much better on it. I feel so much more in control of my life. I feel so much happier and relaxed, and sleep better. And yeah, I mean, I really, like, obviously there's days I forget to take it, or I go, if I'm away, I might forget to bring the bottle with me or whatever, and I really miss it when I don't have it. I know I'd feel it in myself. I'm not sleeping as good. I did come off it there for about a week when I was having the trouble with my stricture, because they wanted to see, was that a problem with the oil, which it wasn't. So, but my God, I didn't sleep a wink for that week. And and yeah, you'll have people who say, oh, it's just because it's, you're not on it, placebo effect, whatever. But no, absolutely not. I know by myself. I know by how I was not coping with stuff during the day. And it's not that I went back to being horrendous, but it was definitely, I missed it. You know what I mean? How long would you be taking it before you notice the difference? This is a really good question, actually, because what I would say to you is, most people who take it go, no, I don't find that's working for me. But everyone around you will be kind of going, oh my God, you're so much calmer. You're so much more relaxed. So even do it for other people, if or for your family, if you don't even notice the difference. But within a week you should notice some difference in it. But you might have to sit and think about it and go, am I sleeping better? Because you're not going to take it and go, oh, I feel great. It's actually be over time. You kind of go, wow, I'm actually more organized. Oh wow, I'm sleeping better. And definitely with pain, people found an instant relief with it. And some people, again, would find it more. I would definitely say you need to try it for 2 to 3 weeks to give it a good chance of working, to get into your system. Again, some people's CBD receptors are slower than others. Ours must be particularly high or something, that it reacts so quickly with us. We have had huge results. But so many of my followers on here, and I'm sure some of them have commented there already, that they notice a massive difference with the kids, especially with special needs. But even kids with ADHD, just not typical children as well, who are finding it hard to focus, finding it hard to, like, I reckon, like, now most of us are on the spectrum somewhere along the way, and the spectrum is now basically this level of from this to this, and we all have elements of autism. We've all elements of being on the spectrum. So some of us find it harder to concentrate, but we find it better to do this. So again, just focus on your abilities, or your child's abilities, not what they can't do, and that will always help you to stay positive. And the way I always look at things is, even when Molly had her 2 open heart surgeries within a year, I was watching people who were in the ward, who were there for 4 years and still on the ward waiting for a heart transplant. And then I met people whose child had died because they didn't get the heart. And there's always somebody worse than you, and you just have to look. And yeah, it's okay to grieve, what you think is your normal child that you didn't get, or to grieve what you expect it, but that's all it is expectations. And what I've learned from my 3 kids is, one is patience, major patience, which is helped by CBD. One is strength, courage, and to actually accept my children for who they are. And they're all perfectly normal and perfectly fine and perfectly able and perfectly perfect in their own ways. Jamie has taught me so much as an 18-year-old now, because he can talk to me, he can verbalize now how he feels. And like, for example, Jamie for years hated surprises. I love surprises. I'm mad for surprises. And so, of course, the more he wasn't getting excited about surprises, the more I was getting bigger things and more exciting things to go, maybe I'll get a reaction. Like Christmas time was a nightmare because all my sister's kids were like, woohoo, woohoo, Christmas, woo. And Jamie was like, oh, look, there's a laptop. Oh, look, there's a PlayStation. Oh, look. And he'd be very grateful for it, but he would never get excited about it. And years later, he turned around to me and goes, Mum, I don't understand surprises. I don't understand why I should jump up and down because you got me something that I didn't ask for. I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like, that's just not how he sees it. It was my expectations of him getting something that I expected him to jump up and down. Now I don't expect him up and down, but Jamie will turn around now and go, Mom, that is the best present I've ever got in my life. Thank you so much, with a very straight face. And I'm so excited because I know he's excited, if that makes sense. So I've learned to accept that that's just Jamie. But Jamie will now, and what I had to say to him was like, you may not like surprises, but I love surprises. So you have to learn to adapt to me, in order than I have to learn to adapt to you. And now we'll be sitting here watching a movie, and next of all, I'm watching it with him, and next of all, I get a message on my phone. I look down and go, it's a message from him sitting beside me going, I love you so much, Mum. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so nice. And that's how he surprises me. Or he'll come home from work from Super Value and he'll have a bar of chocolate for me, or an ice cream, or something random, or he'll just text me, I love you. And they're what make the surprises for me. So he has learned to adapt to my world as more than I've learned to adapt to his world. But he's still very straight talking. He's still extremely literal. He will still say it exactly as it is, even if it's blunt. He will still, if I collapsed on the floor, he would actually walk over me and sit down and eat his cereal, and I'd be like, Jamie, can you not see him on the floor? I'm having a sugar drop or something like that. And he would go, oh, well, I didn't know, I was just having my cereal. I'm like, so he doesn't see things as I see them, and that's okay. That's just who Jamie is. And he is now, and actually accepting that part of him has been the biggest difference in me accepting autism. Because even with Joshua now, like, Joshua is the most social kid. He's the most bubbly, fun kid. He's out playing on the road every day with all the other kids. He's one of the most popular kids, but he's also very easily led. He's also a bit of a flight risk. You have to keep an eye that he doesn't go outside the boundaries, which he doesn't anymore. And he excels in so many ways. He loves surprises. Like, if I even come into the house or he comes in from school, he'd be like, Mom, did you get me a surprise? I'd be like, I got you one. And he'd be like, what is it? And he'd be like, oh, hold on. He put his hand, and I might give him a biscuit that's in the press, and he'd be like, oh, it's a biscuit. Like, he totally made up for Jamie's lack of surprises, because he absolutely loves it. So, but he wouldn't be as intellectual as Jamie is. Jamie, I never had to sit down and somebody just asked her about, did Jamie read early? Jamie was reading the Independent newspaper at 4. He was extremely intellectual. I've never sat down and done Jamie's homework with him since the day he was born. I've never taught him how to read. He just picked up a book and started reading. He just started writing. I never did to do anything with Jamie. Yeah, I had to teach him. He couldn't tie laces till he was about 15. So physically, he would button things up the wrong way. He would do things, the wrong way around. But he's learned to adapt to that now. Of course, he can do all that. But it took a long time to get those sort of things sorted, where he could tell you anything about anything, like, intellectually. And he was very passionate about certain things. Like, he went mad into Doctor Who. He could tell you every Doctor Who for the last 20, 30 years or whatever. If he's interested in something, he will tell you everything about it. But say where the local lads would be talking about football, he wouldn't have had a clue who was on the match, because he wouldn't be into that. And that's okay. That's who he's into. And he's very much, he has his own style. He has his own thing. I say, he's getting on great on his holiday at the moment, except he got absolutely burnt to a cinder because his mummy wasn't there looking after him. Even though he did go out and get factor 30, but he didn't get the waterproof one, so he had to get burnt to a cinder. But he's having a great time. He's looking after some of the lads who are on the lash more than him, but he's quite like, he's gym mad at the moment, so he's in the gym every day of the week. And his body's a bit of a temple at the moment, so he doesn't want to overdo it with the wrong foods and the wrong drinks. So he's quite sensible drinking. He will actually have a pint of water mid drinks it. Most of the time he comes home quite sober and quite, capable. He'd be more concerned of looking after who's with him, which is great, and it's a great peace of mind. And yes, he has got drunk and all that sort of stuff, but I think the first time he got drunk, he got really sick, so he didn't like that feeling, thank God. So yes, thankfully he's not taking after me in that respect. So, but yeah, no, he's having a great holiday, and he is quite, he is very self-sufficient, he's very independent, and as I say, he's waiting on his driving test now, and he's a very capable driver. So all the things that I thought he would never do, he's absolutely shining them out. So with Molly and Joshua, I don't ever doubt that they will be able to do anything that they want to do. And I actually did work as a makeup artist on the first ever Down syndrome wedding in Ireland. A couple both with Down syndrome. They've been together for 23 years. And I actually randomly bumped into them at a wedding fair. They were at the wedding fair, and I was like, okay. And I just had Molly, she was only a baby, and I was like, what are they doing here? And I went over to the organizer, and she's like, oh yeah, they're getting married. I was like, oh my God, I have to work on that wedding. And I went to them and said, I'm going to be your makeup artist for your wedding, and I'm going to get you the whole wedding for free. And I did. And we had the most amazing wedding in the world. It was the most romantic, fabulous wedding I've ever worked on. And they are very happily married. So yeah. And I said after that, all these fears I had for maybe my daughter getting married one day, or because I work in weddings, she's my only daughter. So yeah, I'm very happy to say that I am never going to stop my kids doing whatever they want, and I will never limit them, and I will never judge them if they can't do something or they don't want to do something. I let them be themselves and their best selves as well. So I hope that has helped clear up a lot of questions with the CBD oil, and I hope it inspires somebody. I say, if it's not yourself, maybe it will help somebody who's suffering with a lot of anxiety, stress. I know people who've taken it for fibromyalgia, for a lot of symptoms. So if you have any questions whatsoever, I have never any problem to talk, whether it's on the phone or just by messenger. You're better off to message me, and I'll get back to you or leave you voice messages. If you have any questions about dosage or anything like that, I think I've covered most of the normal questions I get. As I say, I'm not on here for commission. I'm not on here for making money or for selling it, or I do affiliate with Green Heart CBD purely because I just believe the two lads are the most genuine two guys on earth who, and I'm giving them help out by talking about CBD oil, because, and not for them, it's for people who can, so that they can get the benefits that I've had. And as I say, if it helps one person, and as I say, if you're a parent of any sort, try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If you don't find it helpful, don't take it. But it's a stressful life being a parent, whether you're a special needs parent or not. It's a stressful life at the moment. And so many people are suffering with stress and anxiety, especially in this day and age with kids and teenagers, self-harming and all that sort of stuff. If it can take the edge off and get them to relax a little bit and focus with their life, you're into preventing a lot of problems. And with suicide rates so high and everything, I'm just so anxious to spread this message to let you know it's okay, it's perfectly normal, there's no big side effects on it. I say the only thing you can have a side effect of is a little bit too lethargic, and that's all good if you want to rest and your head is going 100 miles an hour. So yeah, I leave it at that because I think I've gone over an hour. As I say, I could talk about this all day long, and I've no problem. As I say, if you have any questions, just send me a DM, or I'll put up a question box in my stories as well. And I will put up a box as well if you want to be notified when Green Heart comes back, or if you want to order any oil, I leave a box there for you as well. Thank you so much for all your lovely comments there as well, and I hope I've answered all your questions. And I will go now because I'm getting hoarse from talking so much. So good night and thank you.